And for Peters, it's only his fourth professional start with the Bees. And it does bring up that conversation we want to talk about tonight, and that has to do with Steven Strasburg. Here's the pitch to Brian Henry, fouled back to the screen. 0-1 the count. Henry struck out in his first at-bat. Not sure how many of you really follow Major League Baseball intently, or if you're just more interested in Midwest League action and the Burlington Bees. But since we're all baseball fans here, we'll bring it up anyway. And the 0-1 pitch, a beautiful curveball, dropped in there, calling the strike. That froze Henry. That's the knee buckler. No balls, 2 strikes. Peters can go anywhere from that. The windup and the 0-2. Fastball up in the zone, check swing, but a full strike. And there are 6 strikeouts for Peters in 5 innings. Simply outstanding performance. We head to the top of the 6th. Bees leading 5-1. Well, Peters, at least in today's start, isn't really the best example, but you can sort of group him with Julio Ramos and the idea of limiting pitches and watching the number of innings a guy will pitch. Here's a pitch, called a strike on the outside corner. Chris Ellison, the batter. He's a left-handed batter, 0 for 2 on the day, a couple of fly ball outs. Well, as we mentioned, Steven Strasburg of the Washington Nationals, remember the number 1 overall pick back in 2009, a YouTube sensation, could reach 101 miles per hour, had an incredible slurve, just a disgusting, a filthy breaking ball that obviously baffled batters at the collegiate level and continues to work in the majors. Here's a fly ball lifted down the left field foul line, but foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Ellison. Well, in his first full season, Strasburg has turned that season into an all-star caliber season. He made the all-star team this season. Already has 10 wins. Simply done outstanding work. We're talking about the Washington Nationals. Don't have a lot of history for going to the playoffs anytime recently. And they have an opportunity here. Runner at first base, and the pitch to Ellison. Lined right to Zifang Pan. Here goes the throw over to first base, a double play. Navarro was well off the bag at first. Pan actually had plenty of time to make the toss to first. That's exactly what Peters needed, and now he's 1 out away from going 6 innings. And again, his previous career high was 3 innings pitched. That'll bring up Ryan Court. Court 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a pop-out. Peters the windup and the pitch. Court takes it low. 1 ball, no strikes. Well, Strasburg obviously had Tommy John surgery to his right elbow, and they've worked him back slowly. But again, this is his first full season. And before the season, Mike Rizzo, the GM for the Washington Nationals, pretty much announced that Strasburg was going to be on an innings limit, 160 innings for his first full season. Well, he's at 105. There's the 2-0 pitch fouled off. This ball will get out of play. He's at 105 through 18 starts. It puts them in a bit of a situation, the Washington Nationals. Do they let him continue and continue their playoff push, or do they shut him down like they vowed to do? 2-1 pitch, cut on and missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, a lot of people are up in arms as to what the Nationals will decide to do. A lot of people think that they should just let Strasburg play on. Others think that you need to protect that investment. Here's a pop-up on the 3-2 pitch. Over to the screen, and this ball's going to get out of play. Count stays full. Well, Mike Rizzo has said it really doesn't have much to do with Davey Johnson, the manager, or the pitching coach. It's going to be his call. Now, first of all, I want to say this. I actually really like his reasoning. When they signed Steven Strasburg, they told Strasburg and his family, his parents, I'm going to protect this kid. I don't want his career to fizzle because of an arm injury. And obviously he has his own reasons for it. And Strasburg was a very big investment. Here's the 3-2 pitch on the way. Fastball fouled off. Court stays alive. And the count stays full. But again, at least for the fans in Washington, who got to watch pretty much one of the most exciting pitchers in baseball as Strasburg leads the league in strikeouts, it'd be rough to see him get shut down. Fouled off on the 3-2 pitch. An off-speed pitch that time from Peters, and now the pitchers are starting to rack up in this at-bat alone. Well, Peters himself is a guy who's going to throw about 3 or 4 innings. However, the real count is on his pitches. Had 75 pitches to use last time out, 85 to use this time. That's just the natural progression. The full count pitch. Hit out to center field. It's slicing on Aaron Shipman. He's moving to his left, and he makes the catch. 6 innings for Tanner Peters. He also gets 6 strikeouts. He only allows 1 run and 3 hits. We head to the top of the 7th. Bees leading 5-1. You're listening to Bees Baseball on News Radio 1490 KBUR and KBUR.com. The activity in the Bees bullpen has ceased, at least for the moment. Let's see if anybody gets up when we get to 2 outs. Well, again, just to continue our conversation about Steven Strasburg, it does raise that interesting situation. You shut down your best pitcher, the ace on your staff, an all-star pitcher, one of the best pitchers in the league, simply because you're trying to prevent any arm injuries in the future. Here's the pitch to Jamison, called a strike. Well, I had some questions for Travis Timms, who's the athletic trainer for the Burlington Bees, of course. Very knowledgeable guy about a lot of things regarding baseball, including how to lace a mitt. As this ball is popped up on the 0-1 pitch in foul territory, and the catcher will watch it land out of play. 0-2. The more than anything, Travis knows how to do his job, and he has a couple guys who have had arm injuries before that he has to treat. And I was curious how the A's tell him to handle that. Obviously, we've seen with Julio Ramos, he's going to go 3 innings for the rest of the season. That's about it. We'll also have a cap on the number of pitches he can use. Tanner Peters did not have an arm injury last season. He's returning from a hip injury. Oddly enough, a torn labrum in his hip as the 0-2 pitch misses low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. But he has sort of a cap. And the real reason behind a guy getting a cap like Tanner Peters is because he didn't have a lot of pitches in the previous season, or he didn't have a lot of innings. So you can't jump from, say, 50 innings to 150. And that's why Steven Strasburg's going from 123 to 160. There's a line drive to the left side, out of play, as Jamison was well out in front. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That was one of the things that Travis said. You get these guys who have had arm injuries, and usually they didn't get a chance to pitch a full season. They got injured during the season, or their rehab carried into a season. Here's one lifted out to left field. It was off the end of the bat, but it is carrying the left fielder back. Caught a playable ball and caught by Tom Belzel. 2 away, and that'll bring up Zifang Pan. Just like that, we see Drew Tyson get up in the Bees bullpen. But one of the things that Travis said, you'll usually see a guy maybe get around 30 extra innings that next season. So if a guy pitched 50 innings in one season, then was injured, rehabbed, everything went well, the next season he's not going to have 150 innings to pitch. There's a ground ball to the right side, fielded by the second baseman, and the toss over to first in time. 3 up, 3 down in the top of the 7th. We'll continue our discussion in the bottom of the 7th. Bees leading 5-1. You're listening to Bees Baseball on News Radio 1490 KBUR and KBUR.com. Bottom of the 7th inning, and the Bees leading 5-1. They've looked very good throughout the night. Drew Tyson now on the mound. Tanner Peters' night is over, but Peters did a very good job. He went 6 innings, allowed 3 hits. Only allowed 3 hits, 2 of them base hits, 1 of them a solo home run, but that was it. He did not walk a batter, and he struck out 6 in 6 innings. He came into the game leading the Bees in strikeouts per 9 innings with an 11.5 average. He can kick it up slightly if he needs to. 0-1 pitch inside, 1-1. Tyson, a guy who had an arm injury back in the day. Remember talking to him about it. Said he almost thought about giving up on baseball. Family talked him back into it. 1-1 pitch grounded down the first base line. Fair, and Max Muncy will step on the first base bag. 1 quick out here in the bottom of the 7th. And that'll bring up Matt Helm. Helm 1 for 2 with a solo home run and a line out. So he squared up the ball easily tonight. Well, just to continue our discussion and to wrap it up, I wanted to ask Travis how it sort of relates to the players here. And he brought up one big example, Raul Alcantara. He's pretty much met his innings. He only has about 20 innings left for the season. Here's the first pitch called a strike. Alcantara had an arm issue when he was younger. He's still young. Came into the season 19 years old. So they're going to be very careful with his arm, and he's a very good prospect. This ball's hit out to right field, down the line, towards the corner, and it's foul. No balls, 2 strikes on Helm. And it looks like we'll only see about 3 innings for Alcantara every week. Not every 3 days, not every 5 days, just every week. In fact, if Alcantara goes 2 innings in 1 outing, he might have 1 inning the next time he comes out of the pen. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Helm takes it out upstairs. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now, that's nothing new. There are a lot of guys who have been monitored, have a certain amount of innings they'll pitch in an outing. Just offering sort of a look as to what's going on and why the rotation has changed. Here's a pitch low in the zone, smacked out to center field. Shipman going back. He's at the warning track, twisted around, and it drops. Bounces off the center field wall, tossed back into Zifang Pan. It's a 1-out double for Matt Helm. As we mentioned, pretty much the only guy who's been squaring up the ball tonight. His second extra base hit. And he's at second base. The wind is blowing out to right field, but as we mentioned earlier, it turned, started blowing over to the first base dugout. It's been going back and forth. And with the overcast sky, at least for me when I was shagging fly balls during batting practice, it's hard to see out there. Aaron Shipman let that one drop. Like Travis said, as far as these pitchers go, Ramos, a guy who's missed 2 consecutive seasons due to Tommy John, he'll only go 3 innings every outing. He has an innings cap to him. Alcantara has an innings cap to him. So now Alcantara working out of the pen. And when I brought up what happened to Steven Strasburg as this first pitch misses low to Bourgeois, Travis said the only thing he could think that a team could do, like the Nationals, is pitch Strasburg like they're using Alcantara here with the Bees. 3 innings or so a week. Here's a line drive, a diving attempt by Jamison, but it's into center. A base hit, it'll score a run. And the score now 5-2 here in the bottom of the 7th. Nice try by Sean Jamison. I thought with that ball slicing up the middle, he might have a chance. Could not quite get to it. Welcome back to Bees Baseball on News Radio 1490, KBUR, KBUR.com. Top of the 8th inning. Douglas Lendayeta leading off. He's 0 for 3 so far. A couple of ground outs and a fly ball out to deep center field in his last at bat.
Want some T-shirts?
And there's a fan right next to me asking if anybody wants T-shirts. Here's the first pitch to Lendayeta. A bouncer over to the right side, fielded by the first baseman, and a toss to the pitcher who covers the first base bag for an out. That's the most excited the fans have been all night, and it's about 2 T-shirts. I think I brought this up before. I caught a T-shirt out of a cannon, might I add, at Busch Stadium, barehanded, didn't stand up for it, cleared the gentleman in front of me, and I took a stab at it, holding my Dippin' Dots in my right hand. That doesn't make Sports Center, but it was a good catch on my part. First pitch misses outside to Rashawn Dixon. He's had a rough night. Well, just to finish our conversation, we'll put the capper on it now. I did like what Travis had to say about Tommy John surgery in general. Obviously, he said it's not a death sentence anymore for pitchers. Essentially, a labrum issue would be a bigger issue for a pitcher. Shoulder injuries are bigger issues for pitchers. But Tommy John, it's pretty much almost been perfected. You can't really perfect that, but they're very efficient now with the rehab. There are a couple of different ways to perform the Tommy John surgery. But my favorite thing that Travis had to say was about the myth that a pitcher throws better or throws harder after the Tommy John surgery. First pitch to Henry, a slider called a strike, 0-1. Henry 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Tyson into the windup, big kick and the 0-1. Check swing on a slider low and away, and he did not go around. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, Travis said that's almost absurd. You really don't see that happen, especially with professionals. By the time they're professionals, they're throwing about as hard as they throw. Here's a ground ball out to Sean Jamison, the shortstop. The throw to first in time. There's one away. He said sometimes you hear the stories attached to younger pitchers. Guys who are in high school and they have Tommy John when they're 17, probably throwing too much as a kid. They get hurt, get Tommy John surgery. Doesn't mean their career's over by any means. What he said was in that year that they rehab, they do more exercises. They take care of their arm better than they've ever done in their entire life. And they do more exercises every day. They do it more often than they'll ever do it again. And it builds arm strength. So they come back, and all of a sudden they're throwing harder. And they probably don't worry as much about injury. And so people think, in general, that a Tommy John strengthens your arm just because of that surgery. As the first two pitches miss to Raul Navarro, 2-0. Navarro 1 for 2 with a base hit in his last at bat. And here's the 2-0 pitch. Shows bunt, takes it. As it misses, 3 balls, no strikes. The thing that Travis said, and again, this isn't coming out of my mouth. I'm taking it from the athletic trainer and his experiences. Travis says people talk about it so much it almost angers him. 3-0 pitch misses. A 4-pitch walk for Navarro. He'll take first base. But a guy at this level, pretty much, is going to be throwing about as hard as they throw. Some guys still develop with all the exercises they do with their arms, getting in better shape. Steven Strasburg, the perfect example, the example we started with. When he started out of high school, he wasn't throwing 100 miles per hour. In fact, he was throwing in the low 90s. He got in better shape, and then all of a sudden, because his conditioning was so good, because he took pitching seriously, did more exercises with his arm, stretched out his arm, and all of a sudden, things started to click for him. He experienced some injury problems, and things did work out. But again, to think that Strasburg would come back and throw harder is not the case. Here's a pitch low. 1 ball, no strikes. Now we strayed away from the discussion a little bit, but I just had to bring that up, what Travis had to say. I thought it was pretty interesting to see Travis have such a strong opinion on that. Personally, as far as the Steven Strasburg thing goes, I agree with Mike Rizzo. I think you shut him down. This is one of the youngest teams in baseball, the Washington Nationals. They have a great record. They're making a run. But far too many teams make a mistake trying to win just 1 year. You need to be able to put together a team that can compete every year, and then one of those years, you'll have the chance that it goes your way. Here's a pitch call.